We are back. It's Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1 and HD2. It's time for The One. Hawaii wins the 2018 Little League World Series. Let's talk about this for a second. Hawaii winning the World Series during this time of devastation is huge for the island. Let's compare this to the Houston Astros and Houston Strong of Hurricane Harvey. First off, 10 years ago today, actually 10 years from yesterday, Waipu Little League won the Little League World Series, which was in 2008, of course. Honolulu just won this year's 2018 Little League World Series, beating Seoul, South Korea 3-0 in the championship game. Honolulu kept South Korea scoreless and scored on a Manu Luukong solo home run, added 2 more on a wild pitch, and aired to secure a 3-0 win, the third time ever and a Hawaii team has won the Little League World Series, and the first time in 10 years, like we said, in 2008, was the last time they won it. So it's great for not only the city of Honolulu, but the entire state of Hawaii after what Hurricane Lane, which is now considered a tropical storm, what this entire state has endeavored for the last couple of days. Record rainfalls from Lane have triggered devastating flooding. Debris flows across Hawaii. But Lane did fail to make landfall, which is great for the state. However, they did get 2 to 4 feet in some areas, and even some areas got more. Mountain View on Sunday received 51.53 inches of rain. 51.53 inches of rain. 51.5. That's third highest from a tropical storm in the United States since 1950. What this Little League did took people away from the storm, even if it was just for an hour and a half, 2 hours. This is what the Houston Astros did last year when they went on to that incredible playoff run and brought home the World Series for the first time ever for the city of Houston. That's what sports is all about. Sports is about competition. It's working hard. It's about getting better, but it's not even just about that. It's about tying communities together. And although we don't live in Honolulu or Hawaii, and I've never been to Hawaii, having this Little League win it and seeing all the emotion brought out, it wasn't because they just won the Little League World Series. Sure, that's definitely a big part of it. But winning it for the state in this time of need, of something to step away from the terrible rainfall and what it brought and the destruction, this is what we love about sports. It can bring out the best in everyone, and that's what this Little League World Series did for the state of Hawaii, everyone watching, and it can be compared so closely to Hurricane Harvey and the Houston Astros last year. And you can just look at it. Last year, it devastated Texas. That was 1 year ago. I moved into my dorm 1 year ago this past Friday, actually, 1 year ago. My dad drove home after 3 hours, about 3.5, 4 hours of being here. And then Saturday night is when all the rainfall, and then through Wednesday, took out homes, it took out cars, it ruined the entire city. No one was able to go anywhere. My roommate, his parents weren't able to leave till the following weekend. But what did we have? We had our sports teams. We had the sports teams to watch. We had the Houston Astros. We had the Texans. And when the Astros went on to go into the playoffs, and they did what they did, they took out the Yankees. They beat the Red Sox. They ended up beating the Los Angeles Dodgers on the road. Who was it for? And it was for the city of Houston. People were able to take a breath, realize, let's take a step away from what has just happened, what has ruined our city and our almost basically the state, because it took out the south part of Texas. This is what we love about sports. It can take your mind away from something so devastating and turn it into something so special. And that's what the Little League from Hawaii and Honolulu did for the entire state. Just going back off of numbers, let's look at Hawaii for a second. The main town of Hilo, with 43,000 people, was completely flooded on Friday. Waist-high waters. Authorities said they rescued more than 20 people from more than 20 homes overnight. So you don't know how many they actually rescued during the day. That's just overnight. Now, I said that they received Mountain View received 51.5 inches of rain. Let's compare that to Hurricane Harvey, 60.5 inches in Netherland, Texas. It's about the same amount almost, just about 5 inches. This is some devastating rainfall that was received in the state of Hawaii. 14,000 customers were left without power on Maui and the Big Island at the height of the storm. Trees fell on power lines, people lost power. However, power has been restored to most people, but lots of people are still without power. Before the impact that it had on Hawaii, Dr. Julian Myers said the storm could be the single costliest hurricane in recorded history of Hawaii. Could cause an excess of $10 billion in damage. $10 billion on that small island. It's a lot of damage. But luckily, the state of Hawaii is doing a lot better. They are continuing to grow from this, and they are building back their lives that were ruined by this devastating storm. And congrats to the Little League World Series champions from Hawaii. You did an impressive feat. You took people's mind off of this devastating Endeavor storm. And we love that about sports. And once again, that was the one biggest story of the weekend. We'll be right back on KVRX Austin. This is Bazar Sports Radio and your host, Will Bazarsky. It's back. Bazar Sports Radio, first day back of the semester. We just finished off the one. Hawaii won the Little League World Series yesterday over South Korea, 3-0. Now, it's time for some college football. Let's go. We got a big week coming up, but before we talk about the biggest games of this week, we're going to go conference by conference, predicting the champions. Some questions that have been brought up by a couple of my peers, and things I've been wondering and want some answers to. We're going to start off with the Atlantic Coast Conference. We'll go alphabetically. So, of course, we'll start off with the ACC again. This is the Power 5 conferences. We're not going to go to all the conferences, just Power 5, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, and Pac-12. Let's start off with the ACC. I'm just going to cut to the chase. The winner of the ACC again will be the Clemson Tigers. Why? Well, when you return 17 starters, you return your quarterback, your running back. I mean, you only return 2 guys on the offensive line, but there's no sophomores on the offensive line, all juniors and seniors, so very experienced offensive line. You're returning 8 defensive players, led by Austin Bryant, defensive end. He's 6'5", 265 senior. Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle, 42. Those 2 guys, Austin Bryant, Christian Wilkins, and let me add a third, Dexter Lawrence, on the defense, all 3 on the defensive line, are going to be top draft picks. There's no question about it. They're all going to be in the first 2, 3, maybe even the first round, I'm going to be honest. These guys are the real deal. Really big fellows. You got averaging 6'5" and almost 300 pounds on the defensive line. That is an NFL defensive line. You're also returning guys, the linebacker position, Kendall Joseph Sr., Trey Lamar Jr., and then you're returning your special teams, so they should have no problem in the kicking game with Alex Spence, who's a senior. He's been kicking for quite a while. The biggest game right now for the Tigers on the schedule is at Texas A&M September 8th. That should be an interesting one. That is in Aggie Land. Jimbo Fisher's biggest game of the season until he faces all the SEC teams. So that'll be an interesting thing to see from the Tigers, because they start out with Furman, so that should be an easy win at home, and then they move on and travel to A&M. That'll be a big test for them. They win that game, you could see them being top 4 in the college football playoff. They just had that depth to win in the ACC, and do they have competition? I mean, yes, they do. They got Miami. I'm not going to say Florida State. Florida State, they lost Jimbo Fisher. They have Willie Taggart. I wouldn't say Florida State is too big of a threat to their reign as ACC champions. However, Miami might be. I don't want to say, oh, yes, Miami's going to be the team to beat Clemson, because I'm not so set on Malik Rozier. He had an iffy year last year. He completed 54% of his passes, 26 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I'm just not sold on Malik Rozier as the Miami quarterback. Sure, he's going to be a decent starter, B+, nothing more. I don't think they have the talent to take out Clemson. Clemson's team is so built up. I don't think there's anyone that can beat them besides Alabama. I think if you're going to pick anyone to win this year, it's Clemson. Again, 17 returning starters. Kelly Bryant, who's a proven quarterback. They got Hunter Renfrow, who caught the game-winning touchdown against Alabama a few years ago. They have a solid team. Miami's coming off a 10-3 season. Sure, great season, but I don't think they're good enough to beat Clemson. They have Travis Homer, the junior running back, who carried for 966 yards last season on the ground and had 9 total touchdowns, 1 receiving, 9 on the ground. He's going to have to play an exponential role this year in order to get the pressure off Rozier, who throws a lot of interceptions. 14 total last year. He's got to alleviate the pressure from him. They got to develop the running game. If Miami wants to have a chance to beat Clemson, which I don't think they will have a chance at all, their running game needs to be a lot better than it was last year. And like I said, Florida State, they're not offering a lot this year. They have sophomore quarterback James Blackman at the helm. They really did struggle last year. Only scored 27.1 points per game. The offense has got to move the ball, both on the ground and through the air. And with the new coaching hire, things just aren't in sync for them this year. Give them 2, maybe 3 years. They might be back. I don't know how Willie Taggart will do and how the players will buy into them, and if they even will buy into them. But it'll be interesting to see this year. I don't see them finishing above 3rd place in the ACC as a whole. We'll see if they can give Clemson or Miami a run for their money, but I've put their odds way lower than you would expect. Clemson 1, Miami 2. Then you got about 25 to 50 feet of nobody knows, and nobody can reckon with these two teams. And then you put Florida State. That's about it. Miami, honestly, it should be Clemson, 25 feet of nothing, and then Miami, then maybe 20 feet to Florida State. Clemson is that good, and Miami is that much better than Florida State. And Clemson and Miami are way better than Florida State. It's going to be a Clemson year again in the ACC, and Miami's not going to have a thing to do with it. All right, moving on. We got the Big Ten. The Big Ten, a lot of news coming out of the Big Ten in the last couple of weeks surrounding Urban Meyers. I really don't want to talk about is the suspension necessary or whatever. You've heard it from so many people on SportsCenter, on whatever radio station you listen to. It's not my job, I wouldn't say it's not my job, but almost getting old. I want to move on from that. Let's talk about Ohio State as a whole. First off, they're going to win the Big Ten. Even with this 3-game suspension, it's not going to hurt that much. They have Oregon State at home. They got Rutgers at home. And then they have TCU on the road at Cowboy Stadium. That's their third game. That's the last game before Urban Meyer's returns. They will be 2-1 at the worst. They're not losing to Oregon State at home. They're not losing to Rutgers at home. TCU, you would never really know. They always have something up their sleeve. They always are a team that is a force to be reckoned with, especially in the Big 12. We'll say they're 3-0 after this game. Hypothetically, they're 3-0 after this game. He returns at home against Tulane. That's basically a tune-up game for Urban Meyers to be back. Let's not run my plays. Let's start over. We're 3-0. Now we're 0-0. Let's start it all over. This is just going to be a relaxing game before we head to State College, take on Penn State. That's all it is. Nothing more than that. They're going to be 4-0 heading into State College with a suspension by Urban Meyer for 3 games. That's it. It's nothing more. It's not like, even if he didn't coach Oregon State Rutgers, they're probably still going to win that game. They have the talent. Their coaches know the plays. Nothing's really changing. Nothing's changing at all. Even though he's gone, he's really not. It's his entire staff. They know what plays to call. They know what plays not to call. Sure, it's impacting his legacy, but it's not even impacting the program, which is not what it's supposed to do, because the players in the program shouldn't have to suffer by this. So they're not. They'll be 3-0. My bad, 4-0 heading into State College, and we're going to have a great college game day set up. Ohio State, Penn State. It's going to be a good one. Why? Because this 3-game suspension doesn't matter. If you're going to suspend a guy, do it for games that actually matter. Sure, TCU does matter. That could factor into if you make the college football playoff, the good non-conference game. If you really want to hurt a team, and that's what you're trying to do, you're going to do it during the conference games when they actually matter. But no, we'll settle. We'll do this during the beginning of the season. He'll be suspended for the first 3 games. We'll be 3-0. He'll come back, have a relaxing, nice win against Tulane, and then we'll hit strong against Penn State. It's like being suspended for the preseason games. I hate to say it. If the NFL started doing this, hey, alright, well, you're suspended for 3 games. The first 3 weeks of preseason. Oh, darn. Well, oh well. Those stats don't even matter. They don't even help your career. Sure, they help if you get a roster spot. But you're suspended the first 3 games of preseason. That's basically what this is. I'm not trying to play down on TCU. They're a fantastic program. They hand Texas football games, everything, all the time. However, for Ohio State, this is preseason. It's just relaxing. And again, you're coming back Tulane. It's a joke. It's just a joke. It's a preseason. You're suspending a guy. You're trying to make a statement, and you're doing it for the preseason. Hit him hard if you want to. All right, I'm tired of talking about that. Let's move on. We've mentioned Penn State. And we're going to go back to Penn State. The player who has the biggest shoes to fill in the Big Ten? Oh, too easy. Way too easy. Penn State junior running back Miles Sanders. He's got to fill the hole left by Saquon Barkley. Barkley's numbers were... I'm looking at them now. They're incredible. He was a Heisman contender running back. Carried for 1,271 yards. Averaged 5.9 yards per carry. 18 touchdowns on the ground. Not only that, He had 632 yards through the air. Not only could he run the ball, his hands were phenomenal. 11.7 yards per reception. This guy had 1,903 yards from scrimmage last year. He averages 7 yards every time he touches a football. Miles Sanders has got a lot to do to fill that gap. He played in 10 games last year, 31 attempts, 191 yards. Not bad, 6.2 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Looking at the numbers, he has what it takes. The year before, he played in 13 games, 25 attempts, 184 yards. Sure, it might be garbage time, but looks like he has what it takes. I don't know if he can fill or be the next Saquon Barkley, but Penn State should be in good hands. They really should be. Got a good returning quarterback. Head coach Franklin is doing a phenomenal job at Penn State after leaving Vanderbilt. He definitely has the biggest hole to fill in the Big Ten. And it'll be interesting to see if he can do it. It really will be. Because if he has a season like Saquon, we could be talking Heisman. We'll talk about that later in the show, but he could possibly be a Heisman contender. Penn State's a big enough school. He's going to get a lot of carries. He's a junior. He's a big guy. If he can put up the numbers Saquon did last year, this guy could be one and done, basically. He's had 2 seasons of not really playing, and then if he has one 1,000-yard season, 15 touchdowns, a couple receiving touchdowns, this guy could be the next top 5 draft pick. You never know. All right. Good stuff with the Big Ten again. Ohio State bringing home the champion. I said in the ACC, we're going to have Clemson. We're now going to move on to a conference that hits a little bit closer to home, the Big 12. And Oklahoma's taking it home again. Their team is so experienced. Even though they got a new quarterback, Kyler Murray, transferred from A&M a couple years ago, they still got their running back, Rodney Anderson. They got Marquise Brown. They got a very good defense. Marquise Overton, nose guard. Monty Bledsoe at the defensive end position. 14 returning starters. OU is going to be another good year for them. Lincoln Riley in his second year at the helm of the Oklahoma student program will have another successful year. However, we don't need to talk about if OU is going to be good or not, because the answer is yes. Can Kyler Murray fill the shoes of Baker Mayfield? That is the million-dollar question. I saw him play in a couple games last year. We're throwing all those games out. There's no point to even look at that. We're going to look at his year at A&M. Why? Well, he played in 8 of those games. He had way more passes attempted. He only had 21 last year. He had 121 in his freshman year at A&M. Completed 59.5% of his passes at A&M freshman year. 5 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Not the best ratio. Last year, though, we can argue, 7 games, 18 completions, 21 attempts, 85.7% completion rate. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. This guy's a real deal. Yeah, in games that they were winning by 20. You kidding? Now, it will help when he has some phenomenal receivers. Like I said, Marquise Brown, Katie Lamb. He's got some good guys out there. They are going to help him out so much. And then they had some decent wide receivers. Ricky Seals-Jones, Speedy Noyles. I don't know if I'm going to say that Kyler Murray is the next Baker Mayfield, because he's not going to be there a long time. He just got drafted by the A's and will be a multi-million-dollar man sooner or later. But there is potential. I know we said 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Whoa, that's not good. And then 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions last year, completing almost 86% of his passes. Whoa, so good. Not yet. We'll give him till Texas. When they play Texas October 6th at the Cotton Bowl, we'll give him till then. They got FAU at home, UCLA at home, Iowa State on the road, Army at home, and then Baylor at home. They got 1 road game in 5 games. And then they head to the Cotton Bowl. If he performs well, actually, I don't even want to say Cotton Bowl anymore, because those stats don't make any sense. There is no trend to that. No matter what team is better, the other team seems to win. But yes, we'll say the first 5 games, depending on how he plays, if they blow out UCLA, they blow out Iowa State, they blow out Baylor, who has a very good quarterback in Charlie Brewer, then we might say, okay, this guy could be it. However, if he plays well versus Texas at the Cotton Bowl and then at TCU, then we can most likely say that this guy is the real deal. It's going to take about 7 weeks. But I think that's good enough for me. All right. Moving on from the Sooners. Is Will Grier the real deal? Yeah, I would say so. Completes about 65% of his passes. It's almost an NFL quarterback. And he is a big NFL draft prospect in the 2019 NFL draft. 34 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The year before, he's a transfer from Florida. You have to remember that he was suspended. 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions the year at Florida. West Virginia is going to finish very high in the Big 12 if Will Grier plays like he did last season. If he doesn't, he'll finish mediocre, 8-5. Other than that, if he plays out of his mind, see the Mountaineers competing against Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. And now the $1 million question. Not even $1 million. I'm going to say the $1 billion question. Are the Texas Longhorns back? Oh, I love that question. Why? Because I get it every single year. Every single news station. Oh, the Longhorns are back. Oh, the Longhorns are back. They're going to be ranked this year. Really, they're going to be ranked. They're always ranked. They've been ranked ever since they lost in the national championship game. It's the same thing over and over again. Stop ranking the Horns. Maybe if you stop ranking them, they'll actually win. Now, they're going to have a good year this year. But I'm tired of this question. Are the Longhorns back? Because in reality, I don't know. How am I supposed to know if they're back? Because last year they were supposed to be back. The third year with Charlie Strong, they were supposed to be back. Second year with Charlie Strong, oh, we have the team. We're going to be back. First year of Charlie Strong, not so much. Well, we're always back. No, we're not. Get back to me after... I'm going to go again. After Oklahoma. Because we can beat Maryland. We can beat Tulsa. We should beat Tulsa. That should be a win. We can beat USC. They just announced a true freshman. JT Daniels is their starting quarterback. Kansas State on the road. Kansas State is always a team that you got to be very careful with. Bill Snyder puts together a very good ball club. And then versus Oklahoma. Five and 1, because I'm going to say they probably lose to Oklahoma. We'll just, because I got to be nice and make it fair for everyone out there and not say, oh, Texas is going to be 6-0 after Oklahoma, because realistically, that's not always the best call. If if you can look at past years. They could be 4-1 or 4-0 going into Oklahoma. That would be the ideal scenario. 3-1 would be nice. Now 4-1 would be okay. Now I'm starting to think we might be getting there. And then if we beat Oklahoma 5-1, we're going to beat Kansas. We got Iowa State at home. That's 2. We got Baylor. That's 8 wins already. If we're 5-1 after Oklahoma, or 5 whatever it is, we could be at 8 wins easily. This could be an 8-win team. Now it also could be a 6-win team. Could be a 10-win team because Texas is back, and we're always back. But seriously, Texas, it looks like they're going to have a good year. They announced Sam Ehlinger as their starting quarterback. 2 good wide receivers in Colin Johnson and Little Jordan Humphreys. Defense is also very impressive, returning Chris Boyd, Anthony Wheeler, Gary Johnson, Brecken Hager, Malcolm Roach, P.J. Locke, Brandon Jones. There's some depth. Texas football has a lot of that. The biggest question, though, will be who will be calling plays? Because it better not be Tim Beck. Did you see him, the plays last year? I could predict every one of them. Screen left, screen right, handoff up the middle, quarterback run. Do something different. Let Tom Herman call plays. Also, bringing in Drew Maringer from Rutgers to help assist in calling plays last season, when Rutgers won, I think, 1 game the previous year, maybe not the smartest move. That's just my belief. Bring someone in who's won it somewhere to help call plays if you're having trouble with it. Like Tom Herman. Let him call plays. So yes, a recap of the Big 12. OU will win the Big 12 championship. Will it be OU versus West Virginia in the conference championship game? Or OU versus Texas, which would be an incredible game to watch, and I would hope to go to. And again, will Kyler Murray be the next Baker Mayfield? That is the million-dollar question. But yes, Oklahoma will have another great season this year. And with that, we move on to the Pac-12. Will USC and UCLA be able to fill the space left by Darnold and Rosen at quarterback? We'll see. USC true freshman JT Daniels out of Mater Dei High School, pro-style quarterback, makes his first career college start this week. UCLA has graduate transfer Wilton Spate from Michigan, true freshman Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Not going to say yes or no on if they have the next Darnold or Rosen. Give it a year or two. But potentially. Does Texas have the next Vince Young, Colt McCoy? Maybe. Does OU have the next Baker Mayfield? Maybe. It's all maybes. I'm not going to say yes and say, this is the guy, because how am I supposed to know? He hasn't played it down in college. Referring to USC and UCLA. They might. Spate could be the guy. He ended last year, after playing 4 games, he ended with a spine injury, so he's now back. His pass percentage was down, though, last year, 54.3% completion rate. Not the best. But as a senior, a graduate senior, he could be the guy for UCLA. Could be the guy for Chip Kelly's new offense. Or it could be true freshman Dorian Thompson-Robinson. A very cool name, I will say. I really enjoy saying that. Dorian Thompson-Robinson. DTR. Good stuff. Moving on. Last little tidbit of college football. Not real. Last conference, I should say. We got a little bit more of college football. because I love me some college football. It's the SEC, Alabama. That's it. Jalen Hurts or Tua. Seems like Tua's probably going to win the competition. Those comments Hurts made about transferring probably weren't the smartest and brightest decision for him to actually put out in the public. He had a really good year last year. 17 touchdowns, 1 interception. The year before, 23 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Holds his completion percentage around 62%. Now, I'm not going to judge Tua off of one game. He really played. His performance in the national championship game, relieving Jalen Hurts, was nothing but spectacular. But I'm going to need to see him play a few games. That's just it. You're going to have to see him play, because who knows? Got Louisville and Orlando this weekend. Arkansas State at home should be a win. Then you got at Ole Miss, and then at home against A&M. It's going to be a tough schedule. Will it be the veteran Jalen Hurts, or basically the freshman Tua Tagovailoa? I don't even know if I'm saying that last name right. That's why I like Dorian Thompson-Robinson better. Easier to say. And I forgot to mention who's winning the Pac-12. I apologize. I just realized that. I looked back. Washington. Got Jake Browning. Moving on. All right. Back to the SEC. So yes, Jalen Hurts dug himself into a hole, and Tua will be the starting quarterback this year for Alabama. Jalen Hurts will transfer, and Tua will have the program to himself. And maybe he'll transfer in 2 years because they'll bring in another guy who's better. You never know. Alabama always has something up their sleeve, and they will play anyone who can bring them a national championship. All right, moving on. Georgia, in Auburn, will they be able to make a run? They can be a threat to Alabama. However, I'm not sold on any team beating Alabama. But Auburn does have what it takes. They have Jarrett Stidham, proved himself last year, and Georgia has Jake Fromm. They got 2 good quarterbacks, 2 good defenses, 2 good offenses. Both teams have what it takes, but I don't think they can do it. Easier said than done. So now I move on to my college football playoff prediction. Number 1 will be Alabama. Surprise, surprise. Number 2, Clemson. Once again, surprise. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, Washington. The Big 12 will miss out again. Why? Because the college football playoff is what I like to call dumb. Why have 4 teams if you're going to do it? You got Power 5. It's called the Power 5, not the Power 4. Because that's what it looks like. Power 5. Have 5 conference champions. That's why the Big 12 did a conference championship game. Then add 3 at large. Then you could have Auburn, Georgia in there if you really want to. It'd be so much more exciting. I don't need to watch the Bahama Bowl every year. I don't need a 6-6 team going to the bowl game. Also, you're going to make more money by having these extra games. Ticket sales will be through the roof. Viewership will be on every TV set. That's what the NCAA wants. So why don't they do that? They want money. They want revenue. And they're going to make revenue by doing this. 5 teams, 5 conferences. Big 12, ACC, Big 10, Pac-12, SEC. All of their champions. All of their conference championships from that game will move on to the college football playoff. And then that add 3 at-large teams. Oh, we're going to have to play more games. No, you won't. 2 teams will have to play 1 more game. That's it. 2 teams have to play 1 more game. I think it's worth it. Way worth it. If you really have to, take 1 game away from the schedule. Take away one of the tune-up games. Like Northern Valley State College at Central Tech or something like that. Take one of the tune-up games away. Harder non-conference games and expand the college football playoff. We're going to definitely talk more about that as the year goes on. Heisman predictions. I think Tua could be a Heisman guy. He's got plus 750 odds. And again, Bryce Love at plus 700 odds. I think those are your two guys to watch. Again, Will Greer, another guy, he's got plus 1,400 odds. I put your money down for him or Jake Fromm. Those could be, if you want to just put a couple dollars for there, I think that would be a risky bet. But I would really, if you want to do a safe bet, it would be Bryce Love or Tua from Alabama. With that, we're going to move on. We're going to take a short break. We're going to wrap up, or we're going to go into the NFL, MLB, and a little bit of the golf really quickly. We got 10 minutes left. We've got about 6 minutes left of airtime. We'll be right back. You're listening to Bazar Sports Radio on KVRX HD1 and HD2. At Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1, HD2. If you're listening online, thanks for joining us. We just talked some college football. Before that, we talked the one Hawaii winning Little League World Series. Now it's time for just a couple brief statements on the NFL and the MLB and a little bit of golf. All right, NFL. Would I start Carson Wentz week 1? No. Why? Let him recover. Give him a couple weeks. Now, if Nick Foles is down, I would. Sure, give him a couple weeks. Maybe a week, maybe 2. If you lose the first one, put him right in. I put him in the next week. Don't sacrifice anything. He's coming back from an ACL tear. Can't rush that injury or you'll be back where you started. All right, Baker Mayfield to Tyrod Taylor. I'd put Tyrod Taylor in right now. He's not injured. Another injury prone. I would put Taylor in. Let Mayfield sit. Couple games. Even this season, if Taylor's doing well. But the minute Taylor slips up, I put in Mayfield in an instant. All right, Sam Bradford, Josh Rosen, gotta go with Bradford. Don't know if Rosen is ready for the NFL. I would give him an entire year. Sit behind Bradford, who's proven himself in Minnesota. Really like Bradford as a quarterback. Have always liked him. He kind of got screwed over with the Rams when he got drafted. And Jeff Fisher's offense. I would go with Sam Bradford. Let Bradford, if he slips up a bit through the year, it's okay. Josh Rosen is the quarterback of the future. No reason to ruin that now. QB situation in Buffalo. You got A.J. McCarron, who will start. Nathan Peterman, who will be backup quarterback. And Josh Allen, who will be third string. Josh Allen is not ready to be an NFL quarterback. And if they drafted him like that, they are wrong. Why? Did you watch the last preseason game? Interception, sack. I'm sorry. Sack, holding on to the ball. Not ready yet. Could be. Could be ready in a year. Not this year. Let McCarron do his work. He's proven backup starter. Sean McDermott went 9-7 last year. We'll see if they can do that again. They're not going to win any more than that. Bills will be a 9-7 team with Allen as their third string quarterback. All right, MLB. Lance McCullers Jr. unlikely to join the Astros rotation when he returns. 10-6, 3.93 ERA this season. Would definitely help the team. They need pitching. However, the Astros have won 5 in a row. They got a 1.5 game lead over the A's. But the Yankees, 4 in a row, 6 games back, I apologize. 6 games back from the Red Sox. Will they be able to catch them? No. Red Sox are too damn good. However, both teams will make the playoffs. That's for sure. Cleveland Indians, nobody gives them enough love. The Tribe are doing work. 13 games ahead of the second place Minnesota Twins. It could be a season of the Tribe in the playoffs. Nothing more. Chicago Cubs, 5-game win streak. Diamondbacks holding their own. 1-game lead over the Rockies, 2.5 games over the Dodgers. That's a tight race. And 23.5 games back are the San Diego Padres. See ya. They'll be there. They'll be there on their couches October. Got some good playoff teams. You got Boston, New York, Cleveland, and Houston. And the A's will be the next team in. So for the playoffs, you'll have Boston, New York, Cleveland, Oakland, and Houston. That will be your AL. And then your NL, you will have the Braves, the Cubs, the Diamondbacks. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rockies and the Cardinals. The Dodgers might be left out. They've won 3 in a row. They can make it 5, 6. They can win in their next 10 games. If they can go 7-3 or 8-2, they could be back up there. Some interesting stuff. A big race going on right now in the MLB if you're not aware of it. Before we wrap up the show, which we will do in just a minute or so, we'll just close on some golf. Bryson DeChambeau won at 18 under par yesterday, bringing home $1.62 million, 2,000 points to the FedEx Cup. Final round, 69, 2 under to win by 4 strokes. Tony Finau finished second. Jordan Spieth, 7 under, shot 2 over in the final round. And Tiger Woods shot 1 under, 70 to finish at 4 under, bringing him $32,000. Not a bad way. It's one way to do it. You make the cut, make some money. Easier said than done, though. That's for sure. So with that, it's been a great Monday here. I hope you drive to work, wherever you're listening. It's been a good one. It really has. I've enjoyed myself here. We're going to have this same time next week. A lot of great college football games to watch this entire weekend, Labor Day weekend. All sports, I would tune in. You got a good golf tournament coming on next week. You have some good baseball games that should even up the MLB race. So tune in next Monday to Bazar Sports Radio, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. We're going to be on the air. And of course, I'm Will Bazarsky, and I will see you next week.
Like there's no tomorrow.